Southport, a quiet British town home to barely 90,000 people. A peaceful seaside, barely untouched by the outside world, where life unfolds slowly. But in just a few hours, tranquility turned to turmoil, a local tragedy followed by chaos. Misinformation spread like wildfire, fear turned to fury, and soon the streets were no longer safe. Thousands of miles away, in the heart of India, Delhi, a city of over 30 million teeming with energy, history, and simmering tension, it too fell victim to the same invisible force. Words, images, and messages, amplified, distorted, and weaponized. Two different worlds, 4 years apart, one deadly catalyst. Is one tweet all it takes? On the 29th of July 2024, a teenage suspect was arrested following a fatal stabbing at a children's dance class. In the tense hours that followed, Merseyside police released little information about the incident or the suspect, leaving residents and the public desperate for answers. The only official statement around 1 p.m. that day was armed police have detained a male and seized a knife. No details about the suspect, the circumstances, or the motive. What followed was intense speculation, almost entirely over social media.
It didn't take long for misinformation to start circulating online after the attacker struck.
He had put it out that the suspect in this attack was a Muslim and a migrant.
Social media accusations flow with no proof and no demand for evidence. Social echo chambers and algorithms amplifying voices of misinformation and panic. Each share, each like, pushing a false narrative closer and closer to the edge. And at its crescendo, it tipped over. And Southport came crashing down with it. The false rumours that the suspect was an undocumented Muslim migrant spread rapidly and fueled tension. These theories weren't limited to just the people of Southport. Popular influencers like Andrew Tate all had their own parts of the story to tell.
An undocumented migrant decided to go into a Taylor Swift dance class today and stab 6 little girls. That's right, somebody arrived in the UK on a boat. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knows where he's from. The media is, of course, hiding the fact that this is a 17-year-old male. They don't want to highlight how ridiculous it is that we allow military-aged males, combatants, to flood our shores.
What began as speculation soon took on a life of its own, shaping reality through misinformation. By the time violence broke out, the line between fact and fiction had blurred. Organised groups began mobilising, using social media to coordinate demonstrations that rapidly escalated.
You can see I'm still at the protest and riots have started.
Merseyside's chief constable says local prosecutors prevented her from telling the public that the Southport killer was not from a Muslim family.
In northwest England, overnight have injured dozens of British police officers. This happened in Southport, the same town where a 17-year-old man is accused of killing 3 young girls and wounding several others in a stabbing attack at a dance class. The protests were fueled by online speculation that the suspect was a Muslim migrant.
Like, as harsh as it is to say, like, you know, their sort of cause and their anger, it wasn't about the girls that had been attacked or that had been killed or anything, or the dancing instructor that was there and now has to like live through it. It wasn't about that. They've used it as an excuse. That is the only that's what I think personally. They've used it as an excuse to do the thing. They're like, right, we've got a reason now to attack these people that, and target these people that we don't like and that we want to maybe get rid of or whatever, or like you're saying, like, oh, we're welcoming but we don't welcome you. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, if it can happen at a place like that, it can happen anywhere, regardless, whether it's a village, whether it's it doesn't matter.
the escalation in Southport is not a new phenomenon. It was only 5 years ago when Delhi fell victim to a social media-driven violent frenzy. Tens of thousands of people across the country were protesting a controversial bill in Parliament, the Citizenship Amendment Act, or CAA, would create a process of expedited citizenship for migrants or refugees, explicitly excluding Muslims.
Protests have erupted across India after the government's notification. Security in several areas of national capital Delhi has been tightened.
Allegations of police brutality and excessive use of force, and the police has come here as well to ask these protesters to dissipate.
Raise your voice against something is an absolute democratic right. Yeah, people are raising their voices, and I subscribe to the view that there seems to be a certain amount of discrimination.
With tension rising between the two ends of protesters, an initial battle was fought on social media, where posts and violence accused people of being traitors, infidels and anti-nationals. Calls for violence felt louder and louder until they finally spilled over into the real world. Akin to Southport, riots and bloodshed were organised and planned through social media channels like Telegram and WhatsApp.
More and more deaths are being reported every hour. It's now confirmed that 38 lives have been lost in those 72 hours of rioting.
A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting its boots on, goes the saying. And this is no truer than on the most popular social media networks of our lifetime, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. The algorithms on these networks prioritize its users the kind of content they are most likely to engage with, regardless of its purpose. So it is no surprise that content that rouses up emotions and inflames tensions is so prominent. What makes the problem worse is that these algorithms also reward users by the amount of content they create for the platform, leading to the super spreader phenomenon. A handful of users and accounts constantly flooding the information space with highly charged content, not to present news, but to rally up the masses to their cause. In recent times, social media networks have begun employing fact-checkers to try and stem the tide of misinformation, but very often the fact-checkers do little and intervene too late. One particularly worrisome example is the ex-account of the far-right activist and influencer Tommy Robinson. In the week-long span of the Southport riots, Tommy Robinson accumulated nearly 433 million views on all of his posts on social media, and all but one had a community note, a feature introduced by the current ex-owner Elon Musk to crowdsource fact-checking. And bear in mind, this is on the English-speaking side of social media networks. Fact-checking and content moderation is even more lacking on non-English content, meaning that if you speak, tweet, or post in a language Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg can't understand, you can get away with almost anything.
To really put into perspective how easy it is to misinform using the internet, take a look at the following video. It shows a group of Muslim protesters in Delhi chanting hateful slogans and attacking a Hindu temple.
धार्मिक उन्माद को भड़काया जा रहा है बिना किसी बात के धार्मिक उन्माद को भड़काया जा रहा है यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं यहाँ पे मस्जिद है सामने.
But it isn't. It's not even from 2020. It's from 2019 in a completely separate incident. And the translations are a lie as well. Full bullshit. you don't have to take our word for it. We spoke to Dr. Pravin Katka, a professor of international relations with specializations in social cohesion and conflict. Here is what he had to say.
I'd like to begin with these concepts, ideas that, these cleavages are either fixed, the primordial, approach, or, that they are constructive, the constructivism, approach. But I think moving away from this, what's really important for us to understand is elites, especially political elites, are really smart in using these as instruments for their own political needs, for their own, aspirations. So, for example, if there's, in communities where these cleavages, exist, these elites use it as instrument for their own good.
And there are some examples of what the doctor talks about. For instance, in the BJP party, some politicians made some despicable statements shortly before the riots. BJP MP Parvesh Verma said that protesters at Shaheen Bagh would enter your house and rape your daughters and sisters. BJP leader Kapil Mishra gave an ultimatum to police to remove anti-CAA protesters because they were blocking the roads. With Deputy Police Commissioner next to him, Mishra said that if the police doesn't take this matter seriously and fix the issue, then his supporters would take the matters into their own hands. These videos were shared thousands of times over social media and WhatsApp, and just shortly after his speech, the riots began.